I come from nothing. My father was a coal miner. My mother was a Sunday school teacher. Uh, I come from the projects of Cleveland, Ohio, and all of a sudden, I mean, y'all got TVs. You pretty much can't cut it on without seeing it. So that's a pretty good rise. That's a lot of grace and mercy there. I'll tell you that. That's a lot of God's goodness and favor being shown on me. But when the Carsons asked me to come in.
Hey everyone, my name is Daquan Johnson, and I'm an MD PhD student. You may be wondering, what does that clip you just seen have to do with me being an MD PhD student and imposter syndrome? Well, wait until the end of this video so you can understand how all of this ties together. So first, let's define imposter syndrome. So the term imposter syndrome is used to describe an internal experience of feeling like an intellectual phony, which can lead to many thoughts of self-doubt. Now, I paraphrase that definition from the original paper that coined the term back in 1978 to describe a group of high-achieving women and how they felt once they reached their positions. Now, I attached that paper down in the description below if you want to read a little bit more about it. Now, imposter syndrome can lead to negative thoughts and feelings like insecurity, as well as excessive stress, anxiety, depression, and all can negatively impact your performance as a student, your sense of happiness and satisfaction, and even your overall health. Now, just because you have imposter syndrome, I'm not saying you lack self-confidence or self-esteem, but in many cases, it can lead to that. Another thought process that people believe is that some of the imposter syndrome symptoms can come from the fact that many of the high achievers tend to be perfectionists, and that can also be a little bit detrimental. Now, the signs of the fact that you're struggling with imposter syndrome can be that you find yourself working extra hard, sacrificing sleep, time with family and friends, or even other healthy activities just so that you won't be found out. Now, some of the things that may relate to the perfectionist idea is that you feel like you can't fail. And failure isn't the enemy, especially for many of us who understand the way that research works. Many of the experiments that we do in the lab don't work. The way we make our research careers are by taking all the successes, the 1 out of every 5 or every 10 experiments that work, and that's how we make our careers. That's what excites us, learning new things and understanding we can take those failures, learn from them, and move forward. That goes with everything else in life. If you fail a single exam, it's not the end of the world. Figure out why you failed that exam and move forward. Learn to be better from it. And now I know the thing that I'm most guilty of, and that many others are as well, is that they downplay their current success. They chalk it up to luck. They say that it's no big deal. They say that they were able to fool the person into thinking they're more intelligent than they really are. And that's not true. And so one of my favorite quotes as relates to this idea that kind of helps me deal with this is that luck is a situation where opportunity meets preparation. And if you think about the traditional definition of luck, you can't really luck your way into an MD PhD program because you have to have the grades, you have to understand the science, you have to conquer the MCAT, and you have to make your case at your interviews for your MD PhD programs. And for programs that will be investing minimum hundreds of thousands of dollars into your training, trust me, they know when people are faking and when they have chosen students that they're confident can complete the training. So it's okay to be proud of your successes. It's okay to internalize those accomplishments and know that you've gotten as far as you've gotten. And that's not to say that, as Steve Harvey said, there's a lot of God's grace and mercy that goes into this as well. And that's definitely true for me. And that grace and mercy came in the form of opportunities. But had I not worked hard, had I not studied, had I not spent sleepless nights studying for exams, doing projects, doing homework, not going out and having fun with friends on weekends because I knew I had an exam on Monday, I wouldn't have gotten to where I needed to go. So you do have to put in the work, but that's, like I said, the definition. Your opportunity has to meet your preparation. Now, let's get to the more story time-esque part of this video and try to help you relate to how did me being an MD PhD student help me meet Steve Harvey. Now, going to undergrad, I was a Carson Scholar. And in 2016, the Carson Scholars Program released an application for their inaugural class of the Hall of Fame inductees for their top 20 students under 30. The application was pretty simple. They just asked us to talk about everything we've accomplished, everything we've done since being a Carson Scholar. And I was super excited because I was never really good at sports, and the thought of being in a Hall of Fame was really cool. And so I told my mom about it, and she was super excited, and she encouraged me to do it, saying that I should definitely apply. And somehow I convinced myself not to even try to write down the answer for any of those questions. I did not apply at all. And I kept telling myself, I didn't do anything amazing yet. I'm still a student. What did I've done so far that people will look up to me for? I completely mitigated and forgotten about all the things I've accomplished up to that point. And I completely just downgraded them and didn't remember them. And so when I saw the list of students that were inducted for that inaugural class, I recognized one of the faces as one of my classmates. And immediately, not to downplay him, though, I was just like, wow, he got accepted? I definitely should have applied. And again, that's not to downplay him because he's a phenomenal person. He's very intelligent, accomplished researcher, and conducting his PhD work at Harvard. So those are no small feats, definitely an accomplishment, an accomplished individual. But for me, those are the people I was surrounded by every single day. And so it made me forget how amazing these accomplishments and these successes were. And so when I was seeing that and that became the norm, I didn't see myself as special. And that was a big drawback. It cut me off from one of these opportunities of being one of those inaugural individuals. And so for me, when I realized that, I was like, I'm not gonna let myself hold myself back just because of my perceived idea of not being accomplished enough. Not realizing that sometimes being surrounded by such greatness is a privilege, but also sometimes a negative and a drawback where you sometimes lose sight of how accomplished you truly are. Now, the following year, I matriculated into the MD PhD program and saw that the Carson Scholars Program were accepting another 5 students to induct into their Hall of Fame. And this time, I did not hesitate. I applied and basically sent in the application the same day the application opened. And subsequently, I got accepted. I got inducted. And during the induction ceremony, that's where I got to meet Steve Harvey because he was a keynote speaker. And that's how I got the clip and the pictures to clickbait you into watching this video. So, more of the story, it was that you just have to try it. You have to realize that. And so one of the cool parts of the ceremony was that as we're walking up to be recognized and have a picture taken with our portraits that were given, the announcer will list off our accomplishments. And so you get a chance to hear the response of the crowd to your accomplishments. People were super impressed that I was an MD PhD student. People were super impressed that I had a published research track record. People were impressed that I enjoyed giving back to my community. And honestly, amongst my current peer group, that's not a rare combination of traits. My classmates are MD PhD students. They have published in scientific literature, and they enjoy giving back in the community. And sometimes that makes it very difficult to realize how special and how accomplished we are. And for the people who are there helping me celebrate that day, it was a huge accomplishment. These are things that you don't see many people doing. And just to give you an idea, in the previous video that I made about choosing the best MD PhD program for you, I mentioned that there are only about 50 MSTP programs of which I'm attending, one of which I'm attending, that are training around 1,000 trainees. And so it's 1,000 trainees across all of their years of training. And so that's in comparison to about 30,000 MD and DO students that matriculated into medical school in 2019 alone. So think about that, 1,000 trainees across all the years of training, an 8-year training program, compared to 30,000 first-year medical students in the US in 2019 alone. So therefore, you see how rare of an individual that we are. So for me, that was consolidation, also trying to remember that I can enjoy my accomplishments. I can celebrate my successes. Now, I'm not sure if I can actually say that I wouldn't have gotten accepted the year prior had I applied, but I definitely know that being an MD PhD student carried a lot of weight by seeing the way people responded when I was acknowledged and when I was being announced, and by seeing some of the people who were talking to me after I got inducted. So being an MD PhD student carries a lot of weight, and for the people outside of the program, people seeing you, they'll see you in a different light. And it's okay to be proud of the fact that you worked really hard to get to where you are. And so I think that is an important message that if you learn to accept and internalize your accomplishments, you enjoy the process so much more, because we definitely internalize our failures and we use it to beat ourselves up. but we should also be internalizing our accomplishments to raise ourselves up when we're trying to fight through and get to the end goal that we're hoping to do, what we're hoping to change the world. So hopefully you've learned something from this experience, you've gotten inspired by this experience, and you've learned to be proud of what you've done so far and to celebrate all the small milestones. Those are super important. Your family will enjoy it, your friends will enjoy it, and you'll have a little bit of fun along the way. And so with that, hopefully you can take a compliment from me, recognize that you're fearfully and wonderfully made, that you'll go forth and continue being great. I hope to see you in the next video.